Kevin gets a new secretary. A few days later, his wife learns of this new hire, and so he faces a volley of rapid, suspicious questions. Emma, Kevin's wife, does your new secretary have nice legs? Kevin didn't quite notice. Emma, what color are her eyes? Kevin, haven't had the time to check. Emma, what are the nail polish colors she uses, metallic, gel, or neon? Kevin, not a clue in the world. Emma, does she have a local accent? Kevin, I barely spoke to her, so don't know. Emma, how does she dress? Kevin, very quickly. Kevin's funeral will be held on Tuesday. A man is stranded on a deserted island for 10 long years. One day, to his astonishment, a stunning woman in a swimsuit emerges from the ocean and walks toward him. She smiles and asks, "Tell me, how long has it been since you had a drink?" 10 years, he replies. Without hesitation, she reaches into her swimsuit and pulls out a bottle of whiskey. The man eagerly takes a swig, savoring the taste of civilization. She then asks, "And how long has it been since you smoked a cigar?" Again, 10 years, he says, with a sly grin. She produces a fine cigar and a lighter. The man lights up, exhaling with pure satisfaction. Then, with a mischievous look, she slowly unzips her swimsuit and leans in. And now, she purrs, "How long has it been since you've had some real fun?" His eyes widened in disbelief. "No way," he gasps. "You got a PlayStation in there?" An elderly woman walked into her doctor's office with a surprising request. When the doctor asked what brought her in, she calmly replied, "I'd like to have some birth control pills." A bit taken aback, the doctor paused and asked, "Mrs. Smith, you're 72 years old. What on earth would you need birth control pills for?" Without missing a beat, the woman responded, "They help me sleep better." Now even more confused, the doctor pressed, "How in the world do birth control pills help you sleep?" The woman grinned and said, "It's simple. I put them in my granddaughter's orange juice every morning, and I sleep like a baby at night." Sometimes, the best remedy for a good night's sleep is a bit of mischievous humor. One day, a woman walked into a doctor's office, looking rather determined. She approached the doctor and said, "Doctor, I need you to help me with something very important." The doctor, always eager to assist his patients, replied, "Of course. What seems to be the problem?" The woman leaned in closer, her voice dropping to a whisper, "I'd like you to make another hole down there." The doctor, taken aback, looked at her in surprise. He had heard many unusual requests in his career, but this one was quite unexpected. Trying to remain professional, he asked, "Why on earth would you want that?" The woman smiled confidently, "Well, business is going really well, so I thought I'd open another shop. My spouse and I went through the Burger Barn drive-thru, and I handed the cashier a $10 bill. Our total was $8.75, so I added a quarter. She looked puzzled and said, "You gave me too much." I explained, "Yes, but this way you can just give me $2 back." She sighed and fetched the manager, who asked me to repeat the request. I did, and he handed the quarter back, saying, "Sorry, we don't handle it like that." The cashier then gave me $1.25 in change. Our garage door broke, so we called a repairman. He said the issue was the motor size. I told him we had the largest model when we bought it, a half-horsepower motor. He shook his head and said, "You need a 1/4 horsepower motor." I replied, "But 1/2 is more than 1/4. He countered, "Nope, for is larger than 2. We've never called him again. Living in a semi-rural area, we recently got a new neighbor who called city services asking to move the deer crossing sign down the road. Her reason? Too many deer are being hit by cars here. This isn't a good spot for them to cross. Little Johnny wanted to go to the zoo and pestered his parents for days. Finally, his mother talked his reluctant father into taking him. After several hours, the 2 men of the family come back, smiling and tired. "So how was it?" his mother asked when they returned home. "Great," little Johnny replied. "Did you and your father have a good time?" asked his mother. "Yeah, Daddy especially liked it. exclaimed little Johnny excitedly, especially when one of the animals came home at 30-1. Morris had passed away. As his lawyer stood before the gathered family, he began reading Morris' last will and testament. To my beloved wife, Esther, I leave the house, 150 acres of land, and $1 million. To my son, Barry, I bequeath my big Lexus and the brand new Jaguar. To my daughter, Shirley, I leave my yacht and $250,000. And to my brother-in-law, Aaron, who always insisted that health is more valuable than wealth, I leave my treadmill. A newly married Liam goes to meet Father Charles. He greets the priest and says, "Father, I need to talk to you." The priest asks, "Is it a confession, my son?" Liam replies, "No, Father. I need to clarify something." The priest takes Liam to his private chamber and says, "Tell me, Liam, what is it?" Liam asks, "Father, why do some women try to change men after marriage? My friends keep teasing me about it." The priest smiles and replied, "Liam, my son." As the bride walks down the long aisle, she excitedly registers 3 stimuli: the altar, the choir, and the sound of the hymn being sung. I'll alter in him. She becomes mesmerized. I'll alter him. I'll alter him. I'll alter him. And finally, as she stops beside the groom, she is already saying to herself, "I'll alter him." A man steps into the confessional and begins, "Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned." "What is your sin, my son?" the priest asks. "Well," the man says, "I used some terrible language this week, and I feel awful about it." "When did you use this awful language?" the priest inquires. "I was out golfing," the man explains. "I hit an absolutely perfect drive. Looked like it was on a clear 250 yards, but then, out of nowhere, it smacked right into a phone line hanging over the fairway and dropped straight to the ground, barely making it 100 yards. "Ah," the priest nods knowingly. "Is that when you swore?" "No, Father," the man replies. "Then what happened?" "Well, right after that, a squirrel darted out from the bushes, grabbed my ball in its mouth, and took off running." The priest leans in. "And that is when you swore?" "No, not yet," says the man, "because just as the squirrel was making its escape, an eagle swooped down, snatched it up in its talons, and soared into the sky with my ball still in the squirrel's mouth." The priest, now intrigued, asks, "Surely, that's when you swore?" "Nope," the man says, "because as the eagle was flying over the green, the squirrel squirmed, dropped my ball, and it fell perfectly toward the hole." The priest's eyes widen. "And then you swore?" "Not quite," the man continues. "The ball hit a tree, bounced through some bushes, ricocheted off a rock, rolled through the sand trap, and stopped just 6 inches from the cup." The priest lets out a deep sigh, shaking his head. "You missed the putt, didn't you?" One Sunday, a small-town church was in the middle of service when, poof, a cloud of smoke appeared, and there stood Satan himself. The congregation immediately started screaming and running for the exits, tripping over each other in their rush to escape. In seconds, the church was empty, except for one elderly gentleman who sat calmly in his pew. Satan walked up to him and said, "Do you know who I am?" The man replied, "Yep, sure do." Satan frowned. "Aren't you going to run?" "Nope, sure ain't," the man said. Satan raised an eyebrow. "And why aren't you afraid of me?" The old man leaned back and said, "Son, I've been married to your sister for 48 years.